Hello everybody! In today's video I'm continuing a series I started on restoring the individual plane parts. A lot of people have asked for more detail, so this is it. I've showed you how to make scrapers and sanding sticks and how to clean up the machine surfaces of a base. Then I went into detail on a frog. The next thing is going to be the iron, so let's take a look at how it's done. This old number 5 had that mud wasp nest, the head of the frog. That's the base that we did. There's the frog. There's the iron I'm going to work on, and give you an idea if you haven't seen the previous videos, the iron cap and the lever cap. You can see how much rust this originally had. But today's focus is the iron. Here's a look at the top and a good look at the bottom. There's the tools, most of the ones I use right there. I showed you how to make a scraper and the sanding sticks right here in a previous video. That's it. First step is going to be to scrape the gross rust off this thing. You always want to make sure that your scraper's got a good burr on it before you start, and if you have to, touch it up while you're in the process of scraping the rust. I showed you in another video how to make the scraper. I hold it at an angle like this and start to scrape off the rust. You can see it just piling up. Scraping is not necessarily an easy job, especially when you've got some really aged hard rust. I mean, it's packed on there hard. Don't give up on it. Touch up your burr and go at it again, and you'll find out that it will come off. So I finished the front side with only one touch up to my burr. Then I'm going to flip it over and do the back. And you'll notice that I scraped one direction. One direction only. So after several minutes of scraping, I've got this thing down to where I'm happy with it, ready to show you what it looks like. These old irons sit on their planes for decades, sometimes well over 100 years, without any care, and they develop something you just can't fake, and that's that patina. So you can see exactly where this thing sat on the frog. This is the underside, and a lot of people don't mind that. It shows the character that came with age, and it's something you can't reproduce. So I'm going to go two ways on restoring this iron. One is to show how to do it and keep that original character, then the other is to bring it back to like new condition. So that's the back side, and that's the front side. On a lot of these old irons, one of the things that's common, you'll see, because they left wood shavings sit, they'll be pitting right here, and that's bad. If it's pitted there, that's the most important part of your iron. You're pretty much going to have to replace it, because you can't really lap it out, and you're never going to have a good shaving if that part of the iron's pitted. The next step in restoring this iron and not losing the patina is I'm going to take a used piece of 150 grit with the grain. And all I'm trying to do here is even up the tones, make it look a little bit better than what it does. I'm not trying to make all of that color go away. A little bit more pressure here and there where it's darker and you want it to even out. Continue that over the entire thing. I don't worry too much about this part because it's going to be user, and I'm going to lap that. After I've done the front side, I'm flipping over to the back. All the time I'm concentrating on evening out the patina and not entirely losing it. Every once in a while you're going to want to clean your workspace for you doing this, because after you get one side looking pretty good, you flip it over, there'll be grit from your sandpaper laying there, and it's going to be sliding all around on it and scratching it up. Next thing I'm going to do is a little more evening up of the patina with some 3000 grit paper. You don't want to do too much, because you're going to get a shine that you really don't want. If you're trying to maintain some old patina, don't go overboard. That right there is probably about enough. And now you're going to get an idea of what it looks like. Next thing you want to do is clean the slot right here. For doing that, I use two things. A piece of rolled up 150 grit and 150 on a stick. You put it in here, keep it flat to the slot, clean the edges up all the way to the upper part of the notch, and turn it over, do the other side. And I'm going to take my round piece get it in there, clean the rust out. Same thing with the hole on the bottom. The next thing you want to do is clean up these flat edges. You don't want to round anything over, but we're going to go all the way around the outside and clean those up. I come over to where I do my lapping, 150 grit glued to a piece of flat marble using number 77 spray adhesive. Just straight back and forth. Give it half a dozen passes or so with some pressure. Look at that. That one's already looking like new with just a few passes. Got a little bit towards the cutting end, and it's done. Now continue the same thing, working all around. Remember, not rounding anything over. The little high spot right here and here, you may have to change your angle just a little bit, but not to where you're actually rounding. The other long side, it's done, and the last short side. The next step on the save the patina method is apply the dirty oil. That's the oil I use. Here's my dirty oil rag. You just cover the entire iron with the dirty oil. Nothing like some good old dirty oil to bring out the true colors. Then you want to wipe the dirty oil off. I use the old blue shop paper towels. They work great. I would normally do the dirty oil and waxing after I sharpen the iron, but because I'm using the same iron to show you how to do it and maintain the patina and then do it to look like as new as possible, I use this order here. So I'm going to go ahead and put some wax on this so we can see what it looks like. Just like the oil, I'm going to cover everything with wax. Let your wax dry. Another blue shop paper towel, wipe it off. I like to follow up the blue shop towel with a microfiber towel. And that's it for the cleanup. You can see the before and the after. Quite a striking difference. That's the front side, and there's the back side of the iron. Still has patina. However, if you don't want the patina and you want it to look as new as possible, you got to come over to your lapping station. Lay it flat, just like the other sanding, one direction. Work it back and forth. Even pressure all around. Check it and see how it's going. And then apply pressure where needed to remove all of the patina. You can see what was patina, rust, building up on the sandpaper, and the iron is starting to look better already. When you work around the logo, make sure you don't sand it off, so be careful. So I'm going to continue doing the same thing on the front and back, and I'll break back in and show you how it's looking. You're going to have to be the judge of when enough is enough. It's not very often that you find an iron that's going to come out perfect. This one's not going to come out perfect. It had some fine pitting up towards the logo. It's got some kind of marbling down here on the tempered side. Here's the line where the temper starts from here down. Same thing on this side. It's got some type of marbling on there. So next step for me is finishing touch with 150 on a sanding pad. I'm just looking at taking the scratches out that were caused by the little bit more aggressive 150 that I had over there on my lapping station. Do that to both sides. So I'm going to stop here with the 150, let you get a better look at what it looks like. That's the front side. That's the back side. You can see the marbling there I was talking about below the temper line. You can be happy with that, or you can move on to some 3000 grit, and what it does, depending on how you do it, it hides some of the imperfections. For that, I go against the rules. I'm starting out light, but I don't want to put any scratches in. And you can see I'm swirling instead of going straight. You don't want to let your iron slide around and scratch up the other side. This is the back side that I'm doing right now. With the back side done, I'm cleaning off my work surface. I'm going to do the same thing to the front side. With it done now with 3000 grit, let's see if you can see a difference. Might be hard to see on your computer monitors or whatever you watch this on, but it does, I think, make it look just a little bit better. Here's a look at the back side. Maybe that'll help give you a better idea how it looks. The next thing I need to do is completely flatten the back side of the iron. If you don't do that, you're never going to get good shavings. So you come over to your lapping paper and start working it back and forth. In reality, the only thing you got to flatten is the very end of this iron. I usually try to take off as much of the tempered end as I can within reason. It's just going to make it that much easier in the future sharpenings of the iron. So after 3 or 4 minutes of working the entire tempered end of this iron, this is what I've got, and it's time to now concentrate on about that bottom 3/8 of an inch or so. So this iron will get hot to the touch while you do this, so you got to take breaks every once in a while, let it cool. If you can see imperfections in that first 1/8 of an inch and ultimately the very edge, then it's going to translate into imperfections in your shavings. You can see them with the naked eye, and that's when you're getting down into the 2/1000ths of an inch or less, down towards 1/1000th of an inch shavings. So you want to make that into a mirror finish with no imperfection. I've taken it as far as I need to go with a 150 grit. Now I'm going to move on to 1000 grit. I lay the 1000 grit on top of 150 grit that's been glued down with a number 77 spray adhesive. Initially I like to do the swirling like this. Doesn't take long, 30-40 seconds with each grit. There's the 1000, and I can finish that up going back and forth and putting most of the pressure towards the leading edge. There's a look at what you get so far. And last but not least, I'm moving on to the 7000 grit paper. Your sharpened backside of your iron should look like the surface of a mirror. For general purpose planing, you want to sharpen your iron at a 25-degree angle. You want to take a Sharpie and a square, and you're going to mark this back edge so you've got a reference line to go by to ensure that that leading edge of the iron is perfectly square. Now I've got a reference line to go by. So my line's a little hard to see, but from what you can see, I'm still straight. And there's a look at the bevel side. First up is 1000 grit. I've always used it dry. Someday I'm going to have to give it a shot wet, see what it does. So inevitably, common sense kicked in. I grabbed a new piece of 1000 grit. It's cutting a lot better, and I think those 150 lines are all but gone. Same process, 3000 grit paper, working to 5000. My final grit is 7000. I buy my paper on eBay. So there's a look at the cutting edge. And I like to use my Mountain Dew bottle to really show it off. Now we just have to finish the backside. The finishing touch is to make sure that you don't have any burrs on the backside of your iron. I'm going to do that just by dragging it back over the 7000 grit paper. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do with this iron is give it a good coat of my dirty oil. It's going to be sitting a while before we get to actually test it, because I'm doing this series of videos, and this is part of a plane that was really a rust bucket. So once I get to the end of the complete restoration, we'll get to see how this iron performs. And I'm anxious to see what it'll do. So I hope you've gained some useful information on restoring a plain iron. I enjoyed doing this video like all the other ones. The time has come. Once again, time for supper. Bye.